dangerous and costly policy of regime change. For decades, our politicians spent trillions and trillions of dollars rebuilding foreign nations, fighting foreign wars and defending foreign borders. But now we are finally protecting our nation. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
President Trump and his 3 campaigns right there. Let's talk about this on our roundtable of political fallout. Former DNC chair Donna Brazile joins us. Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign chair Faiz Shakir. The SCOTUS blog editor Sarah Isgur served in the first Trump administration, and Republican strategist Doug Heye. And Sarah, let me begin with you. Boy, what a difference a term makes.
Exactly. I mean, we are seeing a very different Donald Trump in terms of foreign policy and in terms of what he thinks he needs to do within the Republican base and the Republican establishment. Talking to Republican leaders on the Hill, they were quite persuaded by the intelligence on weapons development that the White House presented them earlier, the last few days. But nevertheless, you're seeing a lot of sit back and wait from Republicans on the Hill. They're not jumping in to defend the president right now.
How do you explain the change in the president? Has he been influenced by the successes, by the success of taking out Soleimani, the success last year, the Iranian strike, the quick strike in Venezuela?
I think he is worried, thinking about his legacy, and frankly, is much more confident in his power as commander-in-chief. You do not have a Congress checking him. There is no legal power within the courts to prevent a president from doing this. And I think you see President Trump in this first year, whether it's foreign policy or domestic policy, feeling his oats, so to speak.
Donna, does this put Democrats in a box? You're seeing some divisions of Democrats. You have some like Adam Schiff saying, no, it was a mistake. You have others like John Fetterman supporting what the president did.
I think the Democrats would like Congress to return so that the constitutional powers that Congress have, they can actually discuss that. Look, this is a president who has now bombed 8 countries. He deserved to tell the American people, like he did the other night, what is going on? Why did he do this? Why did we go into Iran now? Why was the first bomb that was decimated hit Ayatollah? I think the president had an opportunity on Tuesday night to really tell the American people to level with them, but instead he just used that time to bluster.
Doug, we just heard Sarah say that not all the Republicans are coming forward. We certainly saw James Lankford. He's supporting the president right there. The president is getting some blowback from his MAGA base.
He is, and look, that MAGA base was pretty clear throughout his first term as well. They used terms like forever wars and so forth. Donald Trump is trying to make it clear that this is a short-term thing. But when I woke up and saw this news, the first thing I did was reach out to my old boss, Senator Richard Burr, who was Senate Intel Chair, and said, what should I look at? What should I be focused on? And he said, just wait, take your time, and let's see. And that's what a lot of Republicans are doing, because we're in that sugar candy high right now of we took out the Ayatollah. That's a great thing for the Iranian people, but we still need to know what's next. That's not a week-long process. That's a months-long process, if not longer.
That's going to be a question for the Democrats as well.
It's a massive opportunity, George, for political realignment in America right now. I mean, we have a bunch of Republicans, independents, who are saying, I don't trust this leadership. I don't have a lot of integrity about the decisions that they're making. And if Democrats can come together with a sense of not only speaking to the needs domestically that we're forsaking because we want to spend money on a foreign war, if we can go to them and talk about the corruption of our politics, the lack of judgment, and Sarah's mentioning accountability check on Trump. Right now, the fuel has been added to a fire of the Democrats regaining the House and the Senate, because I think people are looking for who is going to be a check on this guy. And if Democrats just say, hey, we are prepared to hold him accountable, that alone delivers the House and the Senate. But I think you can do even more. You can realign America.
But is there a risk there that the Democrats appear to be defending an Iranian regime which has attacked its own people, which has attacked the United States?
George, as a progressive, I mean, no weeping for somebody who was, clamping down on gay rights, on believing that women didn't have the right to control their own bodies. Now, in my view, the world, acting as the world's policeman for America, is wasting dollars and not doing the job of persuasion. And if you think you're at the end of a missile, you're going to convince Iranians to change their views, I think you're wrong. We have much more pressing needs here at home. Obviously, the cost of oil is now going to go up. There are a whole host of living issues. Healthcare is being decimated right now. That, right now, should be the concern of most Americans.
Does this pose a threat to the Republicans in the midterms? Does the president care?
It depends what happens in a week, in a month. If the Iraq War had lasted 1 week, it wouldn't have posed any threat to the Bush administration or Republicans. It was the length of it. It was the cost where real people started to know folks that were over there. So we don't know yet what this will do for the midterms.
Look, none of this happens in a vacuum. And Senator Langford, pointed out at the very end, we need a funded DHS. That's true. We also really could use a funded Voice of America right now. The Iranian people could use that as well.
That's the point, because if this is about regime change, and the president said the other day that the Iranian people can step up, well, how? The infrastructure, this is a theocracy. It is top down. The Ayatollah rules everybody. He rules the military. He rules culture. He rules politics. They're chosen. So I think if the purpose was regime change, the Iranian people are not in a position, given the fact that they're probably going to have replacements of all of these leaders within 12 to 15 hours.
Do you expect that this is still going to be an issue by November?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And, I think if you get into campaign spending, George, you have seen the pro-AIPAC, pro-Israel lobby spend lots of money in Democratic primaries and general election contests. I suspect, that there's going to be a lot of conversation around the influence of campaign dollars and people who are willing to stand up to money and power. I think in general, we saw this issue with Gaza play out in primaries. There's a lot of anger out there in America around bad decisions being made by America driven by campaign dollars. And I suspect that's going to be a big thing.
If this is
Candidates need to
Venezuela,
stand up.
it doesn't matter. If it's Iraq, it does.
But also there's a difference between an issue and the issue. Let's not forget, Americans are going to go to grocery stores today and they're going to be upset at what they spent. And that's going to continue for months and months.
And one of the things we've seen, though, is that one of the bright spots for the president has been the price of gas. If the Straits of Hormuz are closed and gas prices go up, big threat.
It is a big threat. That's why we don't know what the answers are. And so often, we see people do the instant analysis of what does this mean? I got an email from a Politico reporter yesterday morning at about 10 a.m. asking, what are the impacts on the midterms? The reality is we don't know yet. We need to know what's going to happen to oil prices. Is this going to be successful or not? And again, that's not days or weeks, that's months.
The reason why this is going to impact the midterm, George, is the affordability issue is real. People see it, they feel it. When you go to the grocery store, we're still experiencing a sticker shock. The president promised to end wars. Another broken promise is he promised to lower prices. This is going to raise prices, create more uncertainty and more chaos.
How serious do you take the threat of this dissension within the MAGA ranks and people maybe just sitting out the midterms?
Right, we're seeing folks like Tucker Carlson. I think we will see a complete break of Tucker Carlson from the Republican Party probably this week. How many people does he take with him? How many people are actually part of that MAGA base versus those who will sign up for whatever Donald Trump represents? Donald Trump currently defines the Republican Party. We have gutted the actual two-party system. It is defined by whoever the president or the presidential nominee is. A lot of people are just going to go with that.
Do you really see a possibility of attracting some of those voices to the Democratic Party?
Depends on the candidates. And I think absolutely, if I look at people like James Talarico in Texas, who's campaigning on a competitive primary, look at Graham Plattner in Maine, you take Dan Osborne, an independent candidate in Nebraska, you got Mary Peltola in Alaska. I look at these candidates on the Democratic side or independent side, saying these are people who can reach out to conservatives, independents, if they were to be the general election nominees, because to Sarah's point, people are just hungry for both a change and integrity. And a lot of these candidates are coming from working class backgrounds, able to appeal to people who are making $100,000 trying to hold a job and saying, does anybody care about me?
Faiz talked about Talarico in Texas running against Jasmine Crockett. That's a big primary on Tuesday. What's going to happen?
Well, it's close. And let me just tell you something. Democrats are overperforming right now in the early vote tab. But I think this is going to be a very close election. To your point, we have a generational fight within the Democratic Party. For the first time, probably in decades, we see a younger generation with more energy and enthusiasm that's challenging the establishment. But at the end of the day, I do believe that we're going to come out of this primary season with a headwind, something we did not have in 2020.
Big primary on the Republican side. The president has not endorsed incumbent Senator John Cornyn.
That's right. It looks like Paxton and Cornyn will go to a runoff. This actually allows Talarico, if he does get out of this primary without a runoff, to hoard some money, spend some money against both of these guys. For the first time since I've been working in Texas politics, this is the first time I actually think Democrats do have a chance of turning Texas blue.
Wow.
We'll take it.
But also, it's not just about Texas, because if Paxton wins, Republicans think that could cost them $200 million that could be spent in North Carolina or Maine or a lot of other
The
states.
Senate hangs on this primary in Texas.
We'll be watching. Thanks for your time. We'll be right